All right, I'm excited. This is one of my favorite units. It's all about solving equations, and this is incredibly useful you will use it in every single math class forever. So you are going to use it next year in geometry, algebra 2. If you take classes after that, you're using equations. So might as well get good at them, right? So here we go. I know you can do some of this stuff in your head. Please write it down and please show your work correctly, because soon, later on in this unit, it's going to get much more difficult and you're not going to be able to do it in your head. And so if you can build these good skills now, I know some of you are just going to tune me out, but please try not to. It'll really make your life easier later on down the road. Okay, so I like to start by drawing a line straight down. So that is the equal sign divides your equation in half. So you have the left side and the right side. Remember, when you do something to one side, you must do it to the other. Okay, so we need to get this x by itself. So this is what we're trying to get by itself. If it's x plus 4, what do you do to get the x by itself? Well, you do the opposite of plus 4, which is minus 4 to both sides. Okay, and this is my favorite part. You get to slash what cancels. So the 4 minus 4, that's 0. So then we have x equals, and we just get to do negative 14 minus 4. Be careful, they're negatives. Use a calculator if you need to, no shame. So it'd be negative 18. And that'll be your answer. Okay, this one, let's start by drawing your line down again. All right, we need to get the x by itself. Right now it is x minus 27, so we need to do the opposite of minus 27, which is plus 27. And what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Okay, so those cancel. And over on the right side, you're left with an x. Notice I'm dropping down the equal sign because that's what you should do. And then let's go ahead and add this. That would be, I believe, 46. So x is 46 is your answer. All right, now, what does it mean whenever draw your line. What does it mean whenever there is a number right next to the variable like that? That means multiplication. So it's 15 times x. So what's the opposite of times x? Well, that is divided by. So we're going to have to get that 15 off of there. We're going to have to divide that by 15. This is how you write this down. I don't want to see any of this weird stuff like divided by 15 or, goodness gracious, like a long division. No, don't do any of that. You draw the fraction bar, which means divide, by 15, just like that, okay? So divided by 15 on both sides. So these cancel, and you are left with x, that's what we wanted, equals, and then you get to do in your calculator, or if you're good enough, do it in your head. 90 divided by 15 is 6, and that is your answer. All right, here's the next one. So here's that lovely division sign again, x divided by negative 14. Draw your line down. What is the opposite of dividing by negative 14? Well, that would be multiply by negative 14, okay? Here is the correct way to write this. You don't want to use the x symbol. Why? Because there's already an x in the problem, and that's going to be really confusing. So try to get away from using the x as your times symbol, because it's real elementary. I'm just being real with you. Use the dot. So that also means times. So you're going to write it off to the side. So x divided by 14, so we need to divide it by, or it is divided by negative 14, so we need to multiply it by 14. And what we did to one side, we must do to the other, and we're going to write dot, so 3 times negative 14. Those cancel, and then you're left with an x over on the left side, which is good, equals 3 times negative 14 is negative 42. Okay, here's a few more. This one gets people. So some people are like, hey, the x is already by itself. I don't need to do anything. Great. Wrong. Okay, so that negative sign out there, if it freaks you out, make it a -1. It doesn't matter, it's the same. So there's actually two different ways to solve this to get the x by itself, but I'm going to do what I always do in class. So if it's -1 times x, we're going to divide by -1 to both sides. So you're left with x equals, and anytime you divide by -1, it just changes the sign. So since that's positive 4.8, when we divide by -1, it becomes -4.8. And that's it. All right, now let's try this one. Notice I'm moving the x over to the right side. That's fine. It's okay, it doesn't matter at all. So if you want, actually, I think I've done all of these. You could pause the video and try the rest of these and see what you get. All right, so on this one, since it's 0.9 times x, I'm going to divide by 0.9 to get it off of the x. Divide by 0.9, and yes, I'm using a calculator. And you are going to get x equals -12. And that's your answer. Okay, this one, G, draw your line down. It's x plus 2.8. Are you still showing your work? You need to minus 2.8, just like that. And type that in your calculator, and I believe you get x equals -6.7. I didn't leave you a whole lot of room on this one, but that's okay. X divided by 1.7, since it's divided by 1.7, we're going to have to do the opposite, times 1.7, and we're going to write it off to the side, not underneath it, times 1.7. Those cancel. Oops, I forgot to draw my line. So x equals 6 times 1.7 gives you 10.2. All right. Then I have -4.3 plus x equals 14. So some of you may be thinking, hey, we should subtract this off of there because it is there. These two are being added. X is being added to that. But since this stinking sign out front, the negative, we need to do the opposite of -4.3, which is we need to add 4.3 to both sides. Okay, those cancel and you get x equals 18.3. All right, and the last one. I'm going to draw my line. It's -16x equals 256, so -16 times x. So I'm going to do the opposite, which is divide by -16 to both sides. This -16's cancel, and you're left with x equals, I believe your answer is +16. All right, that is it for one-step equations. Thanks for watching.